Ready? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us today. Once again, as you can see by the group of people we have here, the reason we're successful here is we work together, and we like it. And as a result, our Operation Traffic Stop ended up with 213 arrests. But let me introduce some folks to you before we begin. We've got Sam Taylor, who is from the Lakeland Police Department, also with Captain Ty Thompson. The Auburndale Police Department, we have Chief Terry Story. Haines City Police Department, we have Deputy Chief Jay Hopwood. The Bartow Police Department, we have Chief Brian Dorman. Winter Haven Police Department, we have Captain Don Nunnery. Lake Wells Police Department, we have Lieutenant Mike Smith. Devonport Police Department, we have Chief Steve Parker. We also have our social service agencies, folks, and I want you to know that the mental health and behavioral health support that they receive immediately is so very important to this operation. We have Michaela Klein and Jody Domain. I always mess your name up, Jody. Domain. Yes, Marianne, Dr. Marianne Thomas, Canadian Parchment, Sarah Rockwell, Laura Swink, and they are from My Name, My Voice, One More Child, Heartland for Children, Child Protection Team, Sail of Freedom, and also DCF from the state of Florida participated. They're not here with us today, but they were there every day of the operation. So what occurred? This all started on February the 6th through the 12th, the run up to Super Bowl. We are doing a human trafficking operation, as we do several times a year, where we're looking for the victims of human trafficking, those that are forced to participate, those that are made to participate, those that are treated inhumanely. We had 213 arrests, as I said previously. In addition to the human trafficking arrest, the prostitution arrest, we had drugs, we had guns, we had prostitution, we had Johns. Across the spectrum of criminal charges, we had those. 111 were prostitutes, 89 were Johns. There were 24 victims that I want to show you here that we suspect are victims of human trafficking. That's why they're blanked out. Now, we suspect this, and all of these are being counseled with at this time. What I'm excited to announce to you today, this is the most we've identified at the initial stage of the investigation or operation. As you know, the human trafficking victim is a very difficult victim to work with because they're scared. They're certainly more scared of their pimp, of their trafficker, than they are of law enforcement. But this time, these ladies and their team of counselors did and continue to do remarkable work. They'll talk more about that later. But if you look, we've got a color code here. Because of our human trafficking victims, 14 of these females are illegally in this country. Did you hear that? Did you hear clearly what I said? 14 of them are here illegally in the country. To me, the bombshell is 13 of them are Cuban, one is Mexican. All of them came to us through the southern border. So I want you to focus for just a second as I speak, that we hear the political 30-second bites about, oh, the border's porous. No, it's not. The border is secure. No, it's not. There's really not a crisis at the border. Yes, there's a crisis at the border. Wake up. Somebody in Washington with more than 5 brain cells needs to listen to this. Well, maybe asking them to have 5 brain cells too many. Let's shoot for 3 brain cells. But the reality is, this is what we found. These ladies all arrived within the last 2 years. The majority of them arrived within the last 6 months. Some of them arrived in the last 2 weeks. And just how did they get here and what was told to us? that they were paying off their transportation debt, that they were being smuggled into the United States to have sex, that their family at home was being threatened if they didn't come here and do what they were supposed to and pay off the debts. Did you hear that? So it's not enough that we've got illegal entries. Forget the illegal entries for a moment that are coming here to work, to do good, to do better for their family. What everyone's ignoring is the traffickers in fentanyl that are killing thousands upon thousands upon thousands of our people every day. The traffickers of methamphetamine that are all coming across that border with the traffickers of fentanyl. That these human traffickers are forcing ladies across this border to commit sex so they can indenture them. And yet, we don't do what we need to do. I suggest to you that what we are doing with the immigration issue today is simply this. It's like you go home this evening and, oh my gosh, a pipe is broken and I've got water all over the floor. Well, the federal government's got water all over the floor and they're in there trying to mop it up. At least they say they are. But at the same time, the pipe's still pumping more water onto the floor. The first thing you do when you go home this evening and you find a pipe is broken and you've got water on the floor is you go find the source and turn the valve off. And then you mop up and you fix the problem. But we don't. So these ladies are being forced across the border. They're being threatened to kill their families back at home. At the end of the day, some of them say, well, it's also a quick avenue for cash. I'm here illegally. I can't speak English. What these ladies have discovered, and they're going to give you the details, is most of the time when we arrest what I call a professional prostitute, she's angry, she's mad, she lashes out. What we saw with these human trafficking victims is they're scared, they're dejected, they're depressed. The Cubans said they came here through Nicaragua. They had to make their way through Honduras, Guatemala, all the way through Mexico to the United States border. So how do you traverse all of that area? Coyotes, smugglers. They identify them and say, here, you're coming, we'll get you there, and you're paying. And these ladies were paying a ridiculous, horrible price. So at the end of the day, we arrested also 4 previous prostitutes that we'd arrested before in previous operations, and 1 John. 1 arrest was not enough for him here or for the 4 ladies, and we arrested them again. So some of these pictures are up here for a second time. 2 of our Johns showed up with concealed firearms. 22 of these folks were on public assistance. You know what I think about that. We all work. We pay our taxes. We expect public assistance to go to those who are very old, very young, that are significantly in need and can't care for themselves. But they're healthy enough while you're paying taxes and they're getting your tax money that they can come here and prostitute or seek out prostitutes. That's right, 22 of them were on public assistance. 54 were arrested with some form of drug charges. We filed over 100 drug charges. But I would be incomplete if I didn't introduce you to what I call a few of our people. This color of these work histories and jobs and professional positions are always interesting. And where would we be with a human trafficking operation without an elected official? That's right, this guy comes from the San Diego area of California. He was supposedly here helping his mom and dad, and hey, he had a few minutes, So he decided he would come here and engage in sex. He solicited sex for $200. He's on the governing board of the Del Mar Union Public School District. Now, don't you want this guy making decisions for your children? Oh, he's educated. He's got a PhD from the University of Southern California. He's married. He's married. I don't know what his wife thinks about this, or if she doesn't know about it, it'd be a good time to watch social media, or her local news station will provide it to him in Southern California. He's also a molecular biologist. You know, most of us can't even say molecular biologist, and he is one. He's retired currently. At one time, he owned a massage studio. He doesn't own that any longer. Today, he's got a new title, jailbird in Polk County. This guy knows better. He's supposed to be a leader in the community. He's an elected official. He's making decisions for our children, and he's out soliciting prostitutes. Then there's Christopher Patassi from Lakeland. He's a registered sex offender, but he's not originally from Lakeland. No, he's from Massachusetts, and they were kind enough to send him to us. He has arrests from 1993, 1995, 1997, 2000, and 2006 in Massachusetts for what? Sex offender charges. And he has a sex offender status. He is arrested currently for prostitution. He's unemployed, but we are doing background investigations with hopes that we can charge him with other appropriate charges because he has a sex offender status. That investigation is ongoing. Then there's Jessica Nichols from Spring Hill. She came to offer sex, $350 for an hour, and she denied she was there for that. She said, "Oh, I sell drugs now. I don't prostitute anymore." She showed up with a trafficking amount of fentanyl. She also had meth and cocaine that she was in possession of and ready to sell. She's unbelievable. She's, by the way, also doesn't pay her traffic citations because she's had an outstanding warrant from Pasco County for a traffic infraction. Sheriff Naco, we got one of you ladies here. We're going to send her back to you, but she's not supposed to be driving. Then there's Jessica Burgess. She's from Clearwater. She's a convenience store clerk. Okay, what's so exciting about that? She was released from the Florida State Prison she was in there on drug charges. Released from the Florida State Prison on February the 7th. So how did she celebrate being released from state prison? Getting arrested on February the 11th. 4 days later, she's got arrested for prostitution, and she's in possession of what? Illegal drugs, like got her locked up. Do you think she learned her lesson? I think not. We'll give her another opportunity to go to prison based on her meth arrest. But here's a clear indication, folks. We think these folks are low-level, nonviolent offenders, and just given the right environment, they will correct their ways. It took her 4 days to get arrested. Then there's Jermichael Bradley. He's from Tampa. He brought his girlfriend. She's the human trafficking victim. He was in possession of a firearm. Did I mention he was a convicted felon? Did I mention the firearm that he was in possession of as a convicted felon was stolen? You'd think that's a newsflash, but it's not. We arrest people every day. The Florida legislature, and yes, the federal government, needs to pass legislation that says, hey, on minimum mandatories for firearms, you have to serve 100% of your sentence, and if the prosecutor does not bring this charge to court, he needs to say in writing why he's letting a felon with a firearm not be prosecuted. Well, by the way, they also brought an 8-month-old baby with him. That got him a contributing charge. So he's pimping his girlfriend. He's bringing his 8-month-old baby. He's got a concealed firearm. And he's on public assistance. If wonders will never cease. He said he is a chef at Three Brothers. I don't think Three Brothers wants him cooking anymore. Just saying. And then there's Zeynep Show. Zeynep Show is from Riverview. He is a software engineer for FICO. That's right, the credit report people. He's been there 28 years. He's married. Did you hear what I said? He's married. His wife was out of the country, and he said he was lonely. He also admitted that he goes to USF football games to look at the girls. He might as well. There's not much football being played over there right now. So we arrested him. So while most people go to watch a football game, he goes to watch the girls. And he said it. He actually admitted it. And then there's Bailey Purcell from Temple Terrace. He's a wide receiver for the USF football team. While Zune is not watching him play football, he's watching the girls. And this guy is no longer a wide receiver because he's been caught. You almost want to feel sorry for him. He's a kid. He said, "Can you call my pastor? But whatever you do, don't call my parents." Tells me he's got some really good parents at home. I believe they will correct his mistake between the parents and the pastor and the court system. But he was soliciting a prostitute. And then there's Zachary Wright. He's a software engineer. He's currently unemployed. He said he's glad he's not working. It would not look good to his boss that he was arrested. And he said, "Oh, by the way, I've got family. My family's real good friends with the police chief in Plant City. My dad's a lawyer and is good friends with the police chief in Plant City." And they said, "Well, what's his name?" He goes, "I don't know, but they're really good friends if that makes any difference." Well, I don't think the police chief's going to bond you out. That's the most difference it could make. Neon Vega from Tampa. He works for United States Postal Service, the post office. When we called to advise them and to check to make sure what he was telling us was truthful, they said, "Just say he works for the federal government." Okay, he works for the federal government. He's married. He said he messed up, and we were messing him up because we kept him up all night. By the time the booking and going to jail was over, he was supposed to take his kids to the zoo the next day. He was charged with deriving proceeds. You ain't going to believe this. Because he brought a female to the op. Did you hear what I said? It was not his wife. So the dude's married. He works for the post office. Maybe he was just delivering mail. I don't know. In this case, he was delivering female. You know, but at the end of the day, he's brought a girl to prostitute at the op who's not his wife. This guy's just a nut. And then there's Craig Van Elson from Brandon. He's been with UPS for 28 years. He's married, and he left his wife so that he could come over here and get himself in trouble. This operation could not have been possible without our colleagues from the police departments. I'm just telling you right now, it was a massive operation. And I've asked our chiefs if they wanted to speak, and Chief Sam Taylor said that he would speak on behalf of the police chiefs. Chief, come on up.
Thank you, Sheriff. The sheriff calls occasionally and wants to do these operations, and I can tell you that Lakeland Police Department will always say yes. We are proud and honored of the leadership that the sheriff shows in this regard, and he's always leading from the front. He never asks us to provide, manpower and resources that he doesn't double that typically. So on behalf of the men and women of the Lakeland Police Department, we are grateful and honored to be asked to participate in this. And all the police chiefs up here, I think I speak on their behalf, is that this is a joint operation. This is a county-wide operation, and it moves all over the county. Sometimes it's in the east side of the county, sometimes it's in Lakeland, and it gets moved all over. But these things have happened in the past. These operations have happened in the past. I anticipate they will happen in the future. Apparently the word is not getting out, but the word needs to get out. This is not something that you want to bring to Polk County. And we're going to continue to hammer that home until the message does get out. But again, I want to thank the sheriff for his leadership and all the resources that he provides and his attention to this human trafficking issue. And that's really what it boils down to. It's not about putting these low level, as the sheriff calls them, misdemeanor crimes. These folks are dangerous. Some of these folks bring guns, and the human trafficking aspect is what's important, and that's why some of these ladies are up here, and they're going to talk to you about that in a second. And that's the gist of trying to identify and help these ladies, and that's the most important thing. So again, thank you for allowing us, Sheriff, to participate, and we will look forward to working with you in the future. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Jody Domingue. I'm the Executive Director of Anti-Trafficking for One More Child. One More Child is an organization that last year impacted over 400,000 children and families by focusing on foster children, hungry children, single moms, struggling families, and trafficked children and adults. We provide anti-trafficking services in 21 counties throughout the state of Florida, but also North Carolina and Tennessee. And we've had the opportunity of partnering with the Sheriff's Office on these operations since 2014. In this operation, we were able to meet with 86 individuals who could be current or former victims of human trafficking or sexual exploitation. And as the sheriff mentioned, many of these victims this time are from different countries, which is an extra layer of vulnerability because they do not speak our language. So we are able to meet with them and provide services immediately, Spanish-speaking services and other translated services when necessary. And these services include advocacy, access to necessary resources, mentorship, and specialized mental health counseling. Now, not every individual of those 86 are able to be identified as a victim now or former victim, but what we do know is that nobody grows up dreaming of a life where their bodies are being sold for profit. The men and women who are walking through those doors have histories of being trafficked, abused, and exploited. And One More Child offers critical services to begin the healing process and to also provide opportunities that end the cycles of sexual exploitation. Every time the sheriff does these operations, more and more individuals are arrested, and it's honestly shocking that we're not learning what trafficking looks like in this community. And there are many myths that fuel what trafficking looks like, and they take precious resources away from law enforcement agencies and also misidentify victims who are involved. Very rarely does trafficking involve kidnapping. It also rarely, almost never, involves a mom and her children being followed in a grocery store and being targeted, or cars that are marked for later victimization. It most often looks like generations of cyclical poverty and individuals who are desperate to have their needs met for survival. It also looks like people coming over the border from other countries and having additional vulnerabilities like not speaking the language. Or a young daughter who's being coerced online by an older boyfriend, or may have shared a picture that unfortunately exposes too much and now she's indebted to that person. So please, we urge you, learn what these signs look like in your community. If you want information about what trafficking looks like, how to identify it, how to prevent it, how to intervene with it, please contact us at onemorechild.org. And also, if you see something suspicious within your community, please contact your local law enforcement agency, and if it's a minor, the Department of Children and Families. Sheriff Judd, Polk County Sheriff's deputies, and the various agencies here again today, we thank you so much for your partnership and continued service.
Good morning. My name is Katie Ann Parchment. I'm with Heartland for Children, and I'm also the co-chair for the Polk, Highlands, and Hardy Counties Human Trafficking Task Force. Through the Sheriff Department, we've had the opportunity to participate in this type of operations for over the last 10 years. And I will say this year has been such a blessing to us to be able to work up front and more closely in collaboration with law enforcement and our partner agencies to really get on the forefront and speak to the people who are being identified as victims. As the sheriff said earlier, we had over 20 women who identified as being human trafficking victims. The opportunity to be there with them and speak life into them in that moment when they are scared, when they are in a country oftentimes where they don't speak the language, where they're in a situation where law enforcement is all around them. The ability to say, I'm not law enforcement, but I'm here to help and I'm here to give you resources is comforting to those people in that moment. And so I am thankful for that collaboration that we've had. And I am also thankful for the opportunity to really help those people who are being victimized see that there's hope in life and light after being through something like this. This is trauma. And when we think about adverse childhood experiences and how that manifested itself in traumatic episodes as adults, then we as Heartland for Children and all these other providers have an opportunity to really help them see that there's resources, there's people within the community, there's resources through the Department of Children and Families that are able to help them and help them get out of the life. So I will leave you with this. If you are being victimized, if you know someone who is being victimized, reach out to Heartland for Children, One More Child, Sailor Freedom, the Department of Children and Families, local law enforcement, My Voice, My Name, or My Name, My Voice, to get assistance, because there's someone out there who cares, and you're valuable and you're wanted and you're loved. So reach out for help if you are able to do so. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mary Ann Thomas. I am the founder and CEO of My Name, My Voice. We are a collective of lived experience experts who provide training from everything from HT 101 to ongoing programmatic experiences. And so I have been honored to work alongside Sheriff Judd, and I have to say this has been an amazing experience. What I have seen in this operation is really a coming together. I am thankful for all of the police departments represented, and I saw from every step of the way when people were arrested all the way through their affidavit, all the way through the book-in process, people were using, all of the detectives and officers and deputies were using trauma-informed approach and treating people with humanity. And it was a beautiful thing to see that even while they were committing heinous crimes, they were still being treated well. I have been honored to work alongside this department for quite some time now. And what I also saw is, while it is shocking and a shame that there were people there who did not speak the language, there were also people every step of the way who could interact with them, who did speak the language, who were bilingual, from the sheriff's department, the police department, and the service providers, so that they were able to feel heard in that moment. And that was also what we really do need. It is a collaboration. It is a collective of voices. Not any one of us can do this work alone because it is so hard. I am thankful to be a part of this. Every single time the sheriff calls, my answer is yes, and I thank you so much for caring. I'd like to echo what my friend Jody said, that many of these people came from a life of exploitation, that while they were arrested on prostitution charges, and it very much looks like it is their choice, we know that it's really not their choice because of all of the trauma that happened from childhood on up. And so if you are someone who I met this week that we talked, please reach out. You have a number that you got that night. Reach out to any of these organizations. We want to help you take that step out. Reach out to those detectives. They also want to help you take a step out of that life. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Sheriff, I want to ask you about the people who are profiting from this. You mentioned 2 guys who brought females along. Did you catch anybody who's actually organizing anything? And how important is it to do that, especially for the women who are being illegally brought into the country?
First off, it's very important that we catch the organizers of this. But this is like doing let me compare it to a street level drug investigation. Okay, we have caught the buyer and the seller. That's what we've done today. But we know the buyer and the seller is only the beginning of the chain. It's not the end of the chain. Now, the follow-up investigation from this point forward is, where did this person come from, and where did that person come from, and who made all this available, and where did they intercept these girls, and then it takes us across the borders. And that's where it gets really, really difficult, because this stuff is being allowed, encouraged, because, hey, you can come to the United States and they're going to open the border, and, well, I don't have the money to get there. I have a solution for you. So a lot of these people are naive. A lot of them are just trying to get to the land of milk and honey. And as a result, they're being trafficked. And then they get here and find out that it's not just that you pay and go. Now you've got to work it off. And when is it worked off? When do you pay? When's enough enough? And wait a minute, I thought I was going to get a legal job here. No, you're going to prostitute here. So there's a lot of investigation to do, and it's not over. This is simply the beginning for those folks, because you're exactly right. The goal is, how high up can we get in the organization? And that investigation is still to be done.
How do the different departments, become alerted to these? I guess people seeking prostitution or vice versa. Is it like just random traffic stops, or do they create an online presence?
Sure, it's social media, it's online. Listen, folks, it's no, earth-shaking statement here. The whole world's on social media. This whole operation was built around social media. I mean, think about it. We set up shop at an undisclosed location and go out on social media, and 200 people show up. How does that happen? Well, it does. This doesn't count all of the phone calls that these police agencies staff, or the interactions online these police agency staff members got that said, Polk County, I'm not coming to Polk County. This is the ones that did. I'm telling you, normally it's for every one we catch, there's 5 or 10 that don't show when they GPS it and find out that it's in the county. So at the end of the day, it took a lot of work by a lot of people, but we stood up an undercover operation, if you will, a business, and they came, and they keep coming. And I can tell you, despite all this media today, we could still be running this operation and arrest them tonight, because they're tone deaf. They don't pay any attention to the law, and until we hold them accountable. So when you think about it, we caught, what, 5 for a second trip here? Well, that's not too bad, but the fishing still is good. But we will continue on, and my message is clear. We don't make it a secret. If we didn't get you in this operation, we'll get you in the next operation, because if you come in this county and mess with these police departments or the sheriff's office, and you don't think you're not going to be arrested, you're smoking some funny weed. Anything else? God bless you all. See you soon. Thanks for coming today.